baby.
Yeah.
Miracle, miracle, serves. Miracle, miracle, serves. Miracle, miracle, serves. Miracle, miracle, serves.
We keep having all these problems. How we gonna solve them? Every day it's the same thing. Yeah. All these unsolved issues, I guess it's official. Here we go again, the same old thing. And I'm tired of the arguing and lying. So goodbye to all the hurt and crying. Things will change in you, so how can I expect something new? It's the same old thing.
Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is July the 2nd, 2025, and today the topic is a time to be silent. Happy Wednesday. Yes, happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope you guys had a wonderful Tuesday. Mine was just fine. Yes, mine was good overall, man. Thank you guys to everyone that tuned in last night to Allie's first GSL conversation, GSL talk show. Greatly appreciate the love that's being shown there overall. And yeah, I mean, we can talk more about it when, I get done recording the juice. But yeah, greatly appreciate everybody that likes, subscribe, share, all that. Have been giving words of affirmation to us in the platform. Thank you so much as well. And, anybody always that's praying for Allie, we definitely appreciate it. Shout out to Miss Mary Esmeralda 37 for tuning in. Good morning to you. Miss Denise, good morning. All right. We have Miss Mary Esmeralda again saying it was great. Awesome. And then we have Glass Moon 219 saying rising. All right. So, yeah, man, good morning, everybody. Super excited to be back and do the juice, I got a little something, to share, and I hope that it will encourage and inspire you. So, as you guys can see, the title is called A Time to Be Silent. And how I got to it today, friends, was, one, I woke up around 5:02, and then I made a note of that, how I always do. But I did take time to listen to the prayer meditation. I listened to it around 6:30 or something like that. And as I was listening to it, it didn't necessarily talk about this topic, but at some point, basically a time to be silent came into my heart and mind, and I was like, I'll make a note of that. This could be juice today. I don't know, But yeah, I felt led to kind of go deeper about that idea of a time to be silent. And so after I listened to the prayer meditation and got ready to go deeper about the things I have been thinking about, as well as the verses that I woke up to by looking, usually when I find my verses, friends, or when I wake up at a certain time, I'll usually Google whatever time that is and say Bible. So I'll be like Bible 5:02 and then see what verses come up. Most of the time verses come up. I mean, I was going to say sometimes it don't, but I'm like, majority of the time, because even if it's not my specific time, sometimes it's flipped, which is interesting as well. But today there was plenty of 5:02 verses. I don't have any to share with you guys, but you guys can go look those up on your own if you feel led to do so. But yeah, I was going deeper about this idea of a time to be silent. So I was thinking about that first. And then the next thing I started to reflect on is basically all the times that Jesus was silent. So, there's plenty of accounts of times where he was silent, especially when he was, being tried and, facing death and all that type of stuff. There was plenty of moments where he was silent. So I was reflecting on those different things. And then I just started to look into the Bible verses since around 5:02. I didn't write them down to share with you guys, but man, there was verses in Genesis. I know there was some in Revelations. I want to say Matthew might have had a 5:02. I can't remember what else outside of those, but there was plenty that was kind of sprinkled throughout the Bible. So I found that to be interesting. And then I'm like, well, what does this have to do with being silent? And so as I was going through my little journey with that, I think I was kind of receiving some things. So I took a few notes on that stuff, and I'll be sharing that in a moment. But let's go ahead and kick off the conversation, because again, I can't help but think about that song, Turn, 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 from the Birds, right? Because they talk about To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season. So I can't help but think about that line that says, "A time to be quiet," silent. Or is that in there? Well, it's definitely in the Bible. But anywho, so that verse, right, and I guess those lyrics, right, is inspired by this verse right here. Let me see, where is it? It is Ecclesiastes 3:7. It says, "A time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak." Another thing that was inspiring me about this conversation of a time to be silent is I shared with you guys yesterday, and I went a little bit deeper in the after show about that lady on Instagram that had all this blasphemous stuff to say about Jesus, but then at the same time was trying to say that, I mean, I went deeper about it. Y'all can go and look at yesterday's video in the after show and see all the details, because I read everything that she said and everything. But basically, I've been getting notifications on Instagram about people that are either liking what I said or maybe they're responding to what I said. After I left my responses that I think I already read to you guys, I haven't felt led to say anything else on that feed, on that conversation. At the end of the day, like I said, I made my comments because when I saw it, there was nobody else saying anything in reference or in Jesus's defense, right? And this woman was saying that Jesus hate people and trying to give these ideas, that Jesus is only like loving certain groups of people or something like that. And I'm like, even if you're trying to say this is satire, even if you're trying to say that you're just trying to, I guess, bring awareness to how people think, that's not what you said in your words, and that's not what you said in your description of the video that you posted. So at the end of the day, if somebody just read what you said, the words say that Jesus hate people. Like, that's what it say. So, and if you're not correcting that and saying that, so by the way, I'm saying this because, or if you're not breaking it down or whatever, then people may be reading this and then maybe thinking along the sides that it seems like you're thinking, and then they may be like, well, you know what? Yeah, I do feel like Jesus hate people. And I feel like, again, that's not in the Bible. And so for me, as somebody that saw it, I could scroll on past. And a lot of times, depending on what it is and what platforms and stuff like that, because I don't be too much want to debate people about Bible, especially like that. But I don't know, I felt led to say something on that particular post. And I don't think I said anything disrespectful, or anything. I just was like, hey, for the record, Jesus love everybody. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just he loved certain group or nothing like that. He loved everybody. He wanted everybody to repent. Unfortunately, everybody's not going to accept the gift. And I didn't even go that deep about what I responded. But, I just was pretty much reminding people that Jesus loved everybody. And then somebody else came back and was like, oh, well, I guess saying something about Christians or whatever. And saying that Christians are basically, I guess, being bad representations of Christ, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, those Christians or those people probably aren't Christians. Like, they're probably not following Christ. They're probably not doing his will, his way. So are those people even Christians? You know what I mean? Like, so what are we talking about? And then after that, like I said, I didn't feel that to write nothing else to these people. So they going ham. I don't know what else they got going on. People just responding to what I said. People are liking what I said as well, but I don't feel led to say anything else. And I just thought about that this morning as I was reflecting on this time to be silent. Oh Lord. Okay, so we saw a comment come. It might not have been on yesterday's video of Allie, but it was on like either a previous video or something like that. But basically, some lady comes and says that, well, basically she told Allie in the comments that she should stop talking because nobody's listening, basically. And I'm like, well, I don't know if that's accurate because outside of this person, there's all kinds of flood of love and hope and prayers for Allie. So I'm like, people are listening, stuff like that. I think, again, sometimes people say stuff in the effort to, I say, cast these word curses, but that might be too deep for us to consider right now. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like when people try to say things, like people keep coming on here being like she's missing, all this type of stuff. I'm like, no, she's not. Like, she just was live. You know what I mean? I just recorded with her on Saturday. I just talked to her for 4 hours on Monday. Like I can sit here and be going in every comment and let people know that, but at the end of the day, it's like it is what it is. Like if you're gonna keep the blinders on your eyes and have the whatever in your ears so you can't see and hear, then at the end of the day, like I can't go on and on. I know we've been talking about this multiple times, and I've been saying that I have to wash my hands and dust my feet off and stuff when it comes to certain things, when it comes to this conversation. But I share all that to say that maybe the lady has a slight point, not necessarily telling Allie to stop talking, but I'm just here to remind us that there are some times that the Lord calls us not to talk, right? Y'all just saw I went through a whole hiatus with the juice, where at one point I was only coming when the Lord led me to come. So I wasn't doing it every day anymore, and I was doing it very sporadically. And then at some point he had me stop talking at all and just type it. And so I was doing that for a few months. And then now he brought me back last week, and I guess even now, and I'm talking again and doing it. It seems like every day again. But we got to be listening to the Lord, right? To know like what it is he wants us to do and when it's time to be quiet and things like that. And so I guess I'm just reminding us, friends, that yes, there are times that it is important for us to be silent. Matter of fact, let me give you guys a little verse right here. Basically, the second verse that I felt led to write down was Proverbs 17:28. It says, even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he's deemed intelligent. So at the end of the day, again, the wisdom of the word is just so interesting, y'all. Of course we can go deeper about this. There's plenty of verses talking about, when to be silent and, speaking and all these type of things. And then even yesterday, I feel like we were going deeper about this idea of, the power in our tongue and in our words and stuff like that, and how we should be focused on, healing things versus, things that tear down and hurt and stuff like that. However, friends, I didn't feel led to write down any other verses in reference to this, so you guys can go deeper. There's a couple of them that I wrote in the go deeper section that you guys can peruse and let marinate on your heart, souls, and minds. One of them is Proverbs 11:12. And then the other one is Proverbs 10:19. So if you guys want to reflect on those, feel free, to go deeper about this. But I did write down a few notes centered around, like I said, 502 and what I was receiving about being silent alongside of the verses that I woke up with. So one of the things that I received, friends, is that there is a time to be still and receive. There is a time to be still and receive. And I feel like y'all have witnessed that in me and my life in real time, right? Because again, towards the end of last year, that's when the Lord slowly started having me to kind of shift from doing daily inspiration. And I was telling y'all when I did come, I was like, look, I'm still getting up in the morning. I'm still dreaming. I'm still, receiving revelations, but I haven't been feeling led to share it with y'all. And so I feel like it's just for me right now. And so, yeah, and that goes hand in hand with this note here that, there is a time for us to be still and just receive. Another thing that I receive is that there's a time to cry out privately. So there's sometimes that, again, we don't have to speak publicly about whatever it is. It's time for us to talk to the Lord, right? It is time for us to be in communication with God privately. Like they say, go to that secret place and everything like that. So there's times for that, right? Also, there's a time to there's a time to open your mouth with purpose. So if you notice, a lot of those times that Christ was speaking, right, it was full of purpose. I did take some time to reflect on that moment with the lady that was caught in adultery, right? They were trying to catch him in a situation, like a moral situation, and trying to get him to, basically condemn this lady for sinning, right? And so at the end of the day, as you guys can see, he was being silent while they was doing their accusations X, Y, and Z. And then when he did speak, he spoke with purpose to say, hey, he without sin cast the first stone. And that's so interesting because he knew that he was the only one there without sin. And you see that he didn't cast the stone. And then everybody else there knew that they couldn't cast the stone. And so no stones got cast that day, right? Look at the wisdom of the Lord, right? And so, again, there is a time to, to open our mouth with purpose and with wisdom. Like I said, even when I reflect on that situation with the lady on Instagram, like I came forth with wisdom, right? Truth and love. And at the end of the day, that's it. Like, I don't feel like to say nothing else to them, unless the Lord had me go back and see something or whatever. Like, I don't necessarily feel led to say anything else to those people. I feel like I did my part. Those that receive, they receive. Those that don't, they don't. And that's it, and they can go back and forth amongst themselves about it. But it is what it is on my end, right? Let me give you guys one more note that I was taking. Let me see. I shared that part. Did we talk about that? Hold on, wait. A time to, when I'm out for purpose. And then, yes, there's a time to live. I'm so sorry, y'all. I know, I should show, look, this is my chicken scratch for the record, okay, guys? So my apologies. And I was thinking about this morning as I was writing. I was like, what if this is all that's left in my family of the Bible or something? I need to start writing better. I need to start writing better. I guess I'm hear my mama here right now. Oh God, confirmation. I need to start writing better. Hey mama, love you. Oh goodness. All right. Okay. What am I right here? A time to something is sacrificial silence. Live in sacrificial silence. That might be what I was saying. Yeah, so a time to live in sacrificial silence, friends. Again, like, we can know that we're right all day long, but at the end of the day, it may not be for us to get into the fight, right? It may not be for us to, be getting into arguments and things like that with people. Like, sometimes we can sacrifice, our right for somebody else's wrong, as they say. Jesus did it for us. Like, he knew he was God in the flesh, but he was there for a purpose, and he stayed silent in those moments and fulfilled his purpose. So that is our guide, right? Let me see here. I think there was one more thing, y'all. There's a time to wait for heaven's declaration, friends, okay? At the end of the day, there are times where, again, we don't need to speak because we just need to allow heaven to speak at the end of the day. Yeah, I was sitting here thinking, like, I was trying to think, I don't want to misquote here, but I know that, there was the moment where when Jesus was baptized, the voice from heaven said that, this is my son who I am well pleased, right? I'm trying to think, was there ever a moment that he said, this is who I am? Like, I can't remember off the top of my head at this moment. I feel like anytime it was declared that who he was, it was somebody else declaring it. Like, even when somebody said it, he was like, you said it. You know what I mean? Like, so that's just very interesting. Like, sometimes we got to just let, heaven speak, So as I was reflecting on these things, I was, thinking, I was like, well, how do we know? How do we know when it's time to be silent? Because, again, like I was talking yesterday, like, there's times where we definitely, like that saying earlier, speaking with purpose. There's time for us to make sure that we're, speaking for the, being a voice for the voiceless, things of that nature, right? So how is it that we can know when it's time to be silent, or which one of those times it could be? You know what I mean? Like, all those explanations are different ways and reasons to be silent, but how do we know which one is which, right? So here go some more little tips and notes to help us in this area, okay? One of the ways that we can know is to, of course, be led by the Spirit and not the flesh, all right? I know that can be difficult, right? Because we are often led by the flesh. We got our own ideas of how things should be. But, again, that is thing number one, friends, to be, be led by the Spirit at the end of the day. If you humble yourself to the Spirit, then that will, lead you and guide you on what to do, when to do, and how to do. So, all right. The next one is to consider the fruit. Now, when I got to this one, I was like, man, this kind of reminded me of what I was saying the other day. But I mean, again, it fits this situation as well, because at the end of the day, you can see what the fruit is from silence, right? If the fruit is going to be, again, God being glorified and things of that nature, then hey, go ahead and be silent, right? If the fruit is not that, or whatever the case may be, then, it might be time to speak up. Like, which one is going to bring glory to the Lord? Your silence or your speaking up? That, I mean, if you, I guess, put everything in that lens and ask the Lord as you're going through things, Lord, is my silence going to help your cause right now, or is it going to hurt your cause right now? That should help, hopefully help us to understand, which one we should be doing. Let's see. Where's the next one here? A time to wait. Follow Jesus' example, y'all. I don't I had to find where I left off in my writing. But yeah, follow Jesus' example. So again, study that. All those verses that talk about, him, period. Just study those things and study how he did it. When did he speak? When did he not speak? Why? Go deeper. Like, again, we need to study to show ourselves approved. We say we believe the Bible, but a lot of us ain't even reading it. So all I'm saying is, like, how we going to be following Christ if we don't even know what he did, how he acted, what he said, just saying. So let's study and follow his example. And I think last but not least, right, is to use the peace test. So that pretty much is like to ask the question, do I have peace about the silence, right? Do I have peace about speaking? Either or, right? Both. So hopefully this helps somebody today. Again, there is a time to be silent, right? And that can be a blessing and a holy thing as well. Matter of fact, this is the juice of today. If you ain't hear nothing else, I guess this is the juice. And there, I came across this quote right here. It says, silence is not passive. It is active obedience. And when God says speak, it carries the weight of heaven behind it. So there you go, friends. I mean, at the end of the day, like, this is the juice, man. This is like the main point of today's conversation. I hope you guys are encouraged and inspired. Look, to speak when it's time to speak, and look, to be silent when it's time to be silent. And like I said, that is the juice. The Bible verse of today is Psalm 34:8. It says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him." Friends, I hope you guys enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow. If the Lord's will. Bye-bye.